Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Let's Livestream. This week, we have a really special guest. We are talking with Randall Bennett, who is one of the co-founders of VidPresso Live, a cloud-based encoding producing software that you really need to pay attention to. And we're going to talk with him today. But guys, everybody that is watching this, thank you so much for joining us today. This is Let's Livestream, a live stream Twitter chat about, you got it, live streaming. So without too much ado, I want to make sure that we give everybody a chance to be able to tune in, share it out as we go over some of the rules. The rules, these are very important rules. I mean, these rules are right up in importance with like gravity and things like this, and making sure that your coffee is well prepared. But the first lesson, the first thing that we have to do is make sure that in all of the tweets that you use hashtag Let's Livestream, because this is, in fact, a Let's Livestream Twitter chat. The second one is making sure that any of the questions you guys respond to, answer, or anything like this, make sure that you use the letter A and then the number of the question you're replying to along with that hashtag so that I can see it and be able to respond to it live during the show. Rule number 3, guys, this is a Twitter chat, and we are on Twitter, and we are on Periscope. We're actually also on Facebook too. Go over to livetalknation.com, and that will take you over to our free Facebook group where you can join us in between conversations after broadcast chats, and get to know and connect with more people in the community. And the last one, and this is probably the most important one, we want you to learn, have fun, and definitely share this out with your followers, because this really is community. This is a real chat, and it's something that we all enjoy to do and talk about. So without getting too much further into that, I think that was the fastest intro I've ever done on this show, and I've done a few of these. But guys, if you haven't already, please do share it out. Let's bring on, as we get ready for these questions, let's bring on our guest. Our guest is Randall Bennett. I'm going to give him a minute or two to be able to tell us more about himself as we get going. Hey, Randall, welcome to the show.
Thanks. It's great to be here. I'm super excited.
This is awesome, man. I'm actually really, I'm really happy. Thank you for taking the time and joining us. I know you're a couple of time zones back from where we are, but thank you for taking a little bit of your afternoon and joining us today.
Yeah, no problem.
So Randall, not everybody knows who you are, and not everybody really knows what VidPresso is, maybe aside from maybe a couple of tweets here and there that I've shared throughout the week. But would you just take a moment and tell everybody about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Randall. I'm one of the founders of VidPresso. My background is in both broadcast television as well as online media. And I am the founder of VidPresso. I'm a developer. I build stuff for VidPresso. So right before this, I was coding. And yeah, that's my background. Sort of weird. I've done on-air stuff. So I was actually like a journalist for some people for CNET back in the day. And I hosted some shows. And I've also do back-end coding. So I'm kind of a freak in that I do both the front end and the back end of broadcasting.
I never really thought of somebody referring to themselves in that case, but I guess if understanding both the front and the back end of it, that's a unique skill. I get it. I get it. I'll just roll with it.
I'm kind of a weirdo.
Kind of a weirdo with that. But now, this week, and for the last, actually, for about a week or a week and a half now, we've, Jen and I, with VitMug here, we've been able to kind of look behind the scenes and get to know a little bit more about VidPresso and get our hands on it, to actually be able to use some of the features and do some broadcasts with it. In fact, and we're going to be able to actually look at those with our hands, or rather with our eyes. We look with our eyes. We'll play with some of the buttons and stuff like that a little bit shorter later on in the video. But I do want to get into this question. We have 6 questions for you, Randall, and in all full disclosure, I did send them to you ahead of time. I did not change them, but I do think they're good questions for our topic this week. And question number 1, just straight out of the gate, is what is the biggest challenge facing live stream broadcasters today?
So my feeling is that broadcasting is really hard. You have to know a lot of stuff in order to get a broadcast out and to have it look like television, which is, I think, the goal of a lot of broadcasters. So it's easy to set up a stream where you just have one camera and that's all you do is just have the one camera that's up. I think a lot of people expect more out of their productions. They expect graphics, they expect lower thirds, they expect like you guys are doing right now. There's this like bottom bar on the screen. There's CGs that identify me, all that stuff. And to do that, you have to have a lot of technical knowledge. And so to me today, like the hardest thing is getting that technical knowledge. How do you get used to using Wirecast? How do you get used to using even VidPressa? Like, there's a little bit of a learning curve with our software as well. But how do you get used to using these pieces of software to create a really high quality product? So I think like for a lot of people, they get caught up on, they start something and then they get caught on the stuff will just snag them, and it's really hard to get past that. And I think a lot of the tools that are coming out today are trying to make that a lot easier, but we're not necessarily. I still think it's really hard to create a really high quality production, and that's the thing that I'm trying to fix the first and foremost.
And I got to say right off the bat, I mean, I completely agree with you on those things. I think it is harder. And I think there's a number of solutions out there trying to, address certain aspects or certain part of it. Maybe it's bringing in guests, or maybe they're trying to make maybe some of the adding some extra like production layers, like lower thirds, or doing the stop and start, or broadcasting to a certain platform even. They're all trying to solve one particular problem or another. But one of the things that really stood out to me, now particularly with the VidPresso, because I got to say that like we encounter a lot of these problems. It is difficult. I mean, you have to have technical knowledge. You have to be able to set up, and you have to have then at least the eye to be able to how do you want the show to look, and then the planning, and it takes. If there's a lot to it, it's not just, oh, well, let's just go live and just kind of hope for the best. And, we're going for that. And later on, we'll talk about brands, but I mean, I don't think it's exclusive to solo broadcasters.
Nope.
This is broadcasting in general.
Yeah, it's really hard. And I don't think it's anyone's sole job to create live video productions. People are always doing it in addition to their regular job. So you have, at the high end, you have people like NBC who are they're social media producers who are responsible for getting things on Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat and Instagram. And then on top of that, they have to stream live video to these platforms. So it's like their second job or their third job or their fourth job. And they don't have a lot of time to spend like digging in and spending their whole life, like learning how a switcher works, learning how to switch between different cameras, learning how graphics works. So I think like a lot of people, I don't think there's very few people in the world, maybe like one or two people in the world whose whole job is to create live streams and to create video production for these live streams. So I think a lot of our goal of VidPresso is to make it so that you can jump in without a ton of training, without a ton of knowledge, and get a product that looks decent, that looks good, that has graphics, that has comments, that has polls, that has all those things that make the production interactive and make it unique to the platform you're using.
Mm-hmm. I know for a lot of people, when they think of going live, they're thinking of broadcasting, whether it's to a Periscope or to YouTube, and there are, for everybody watching, there are a lot of other broadcast destinations other than Facebook and in YouTube and Periscope. There's a lot out there, and we'll talk about some of the features and distinctives on this. But I think one of the biggest problems that I think that broadcasters, and particularly live stream broadcasters, have is that it's gathering an audience. It's actually being able to do the tech side of actually broadcasting and then communicate intelligently well the thought that they had through that. Because I think a lot of times it's the technique gets in the way, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's what we find all the time is that if you know how Wirecast works and you're really great at Wirecast, it's hard to have the other expertise of like how to talk on camera. And then imagine talking on camera while trying to click around on Wirecast or even keyboard shortcuts. I like when I started live streaming about 2009. I was using Wirecast and I wrote some scripts that would actually take a MIDI controller and map it to Wirecast so that I could click around different shots just by having like a MIDI controller. I think like that experience of trying to do it myself really like informed a lot of the stuff that we do, and we're not perfect yet. A lot of times, you know, we have a producer for this show right now who's behind the scenes, who's doing a lot of the work. I think like our goal for VidPresso is to make it so that one day one person can do a show and have it look great and have it work perfectly technically and have it without having to do anything more than hit spacebar. That's kind of like our bar for like, if we're successful. If you can hit one button and the show looks great, that's when we have accomplished our goal. And we're nowhere near that today. We have a whole bunch of plans, a whole bunch of features we want to build that are that we haven't had time to work on because we're getting the basics. So we have the basics kind of down now, and people who use VidPresso can use us to stream, can use us to add graphics, can use us to add interactivity. That's kind of the basic thing that we have down. The more advanced stuff of like making it so one person can truly produce a show with just a web browser, we're not there yet. That's still kind of like on the horizon.
I think that is a really interesting part of it. You know, as we are moving forward, you know, we gone are the days of just going live and just kind of hoping for the best. And oh, this is really neat. I've never seen this before. Or oh wow, you can do this on your phone. And I realize that not everybody is broadcast, and we have a number of people that are watching, you know, on Periscope and on Facebook, and I want to make sure, you know, we say hi to everybody out there, because, you know, we're broadcasting this out on social media for a reason, because we want to include people in their questions, and you know, and for what it's worth, I want to make sure everybody does know that, like, hey guys, I'm watching it, and you know, looking to see how you guys are responding to a lot of these, you know, to a lot of the questions and things like that. So as you guys, if you're on Periscope, you know, make sure, like, let us know, like, what do you find is the biggest challenge facing the you know, the live stream broadcasters today? Because I'd really love to be able to even just go back and be able to catch it. Because on our end, you know, Randall, we use a number of tools in the production, and you know, VitMug does do the production for this. Jen Nelson is the button pusher, as she calls herself sometimes, but she's the producer. You know, she's doing the switching. You know, she's making sure that the audio is going out. She's actually doing a lot of the moderating and you know, in making sure that like all the technical side of it, so that you and I, we can actually focus on, hey, what's going on?
Exactly.
Like, let's talk about the next thing. So, you know, maybe that's my time to be able to say, hey guys, if you haven't followed VitMug, make sure you go over to follow VitMug on Twitter and on Periscope, and you know, and just be able to connect and see a better ways that you can put live stream production in your hands. Randall, let's move on to question number 2. I think question number 2, okay, we've talked a little bit about it, but question number 2, very simply, very straightforward. Question number 2 is, you know, what are the pros and cons of using the cloud for live video production?
Yeah, so we support both, just to be clear, like VidPresso as a company does both cloud-based and local-based encoders. I think most people know us for our cloud product because it's the first thing you get to see when you come to VidPresso. You get right into the cloud product. So we experience both the pros and the cons of cloud video production all the time. I think the hardest thing about cloud video production is making sure the quality is great. I think it's really hard when you're relying on other tools. We rely on WebRTC using Twilio. If you're relying on other tools to get the video to your encoder, you have to make sure that those tools are good at doing the job. Like, they have to get the video in at a high quality. And we've worked for like a long time to make sure that the quality is great. So I think that's the hardest thing for us, was making sure that the quality is up. And now the quality is up, so it's really easy to use. I think that the second pro is just like, it's so easy. Like, all you have to do is go to a website, click a button, and then your camera works, right? Theoretically, hopefully, if your drivers are set up right and all that stuff. So the simplicity and the ease, and the ability to have a high quality broadcast without having to have any technical knowledge. So you don't have to know about like bit rates. You don't have to know about like keyframe intervals. You don't have to know about anything that a lot of people have to know about to do video encoding, because all of the encoding happens in the cloud on a server far away from your computer. You don't have to have a beefy extreme computer in order to pull off your video. You could have like a Chromebook or an Android phone or whatever. It's just like a really low end computer. So I think that's the pros. The cons, you lose a lot of control because of the way things work. you lose the ability to specifically set up the shots the way you would in a local encoding application. You lose the X264 options that you might want to set in OBS or things like that. So I think that like you trade simplicity for control, which is always a trade-off. And I think that like for a lot of people, the trade-off is correct. It's correct to use the cloud. It's correct to give up some of your control because you don't want to think about that stuff. But for other people, you want to have a lot of our bigger clients. They want to have perfect video quality, not just good video quality. They want to have perfect video quality. They want to have they want to know that if their internet connection is working, that it's going to work 100% of the time, right? The cloud can't guarantee that. We don't have control over how video gets routed. We don't have control over all the networks in between us. We have control over some of that stuff. So I think like that trade-off of control versus simplicity, it's a trade-off that you could make, right? I think for a lot of individual people, they'll want to make that trade-off because they don't care about the extreme control. But I think for a lot of our high-end customers, we integrate either as a graphics box into their current encoding workflow because they might be using something like Teradek or like some other product to do the encoding, like an Elemental video encoder, etc. So some on our high-end clients will just be like a link in the chain, but then on our low-end clients, they don't have to think about anything. So that's kind of like to me, that's how I see the pros and the cons. It's the main is simplicity versus control.
And I think a lot of broadcasters now are getting to that point where realizing the advantages of having that control.
Yeah.
And not just in the distribution of it, and not just on I want to be able to go to Facebook, or I want to be able to do this or that. It's not just those things. So one of the things that I think is coming up now is that broadcasters are realizing that they in fact can do it.
Yeah.
Like it's actually within their grasp to be able to produce a good looking show, a show that brings out their either their personality, what the brand objectives, or because everybody broadcasts a little bit differently. But I think people are really saying, look, I want to be able to have that control. I want to be able to have some of that options and flexibilities with it. And I think that's a lot of the pros. The cons, like you were bringing up, I think a lot of the cons that people aren't seeing, and maybe they haven't even thought about, is that how dependent are you willing to be? I mean, I don't think I'm a control freak, Randall. I really don't.
Yeah.
Like, I really fight it. But like, I like to be able to know that it's that I can push the button, and that it's what is it, my machine, or is it the world outside? Like, I really like that kind of a thing. But
and for us, like, we want to be able to fit into both of those workflows. So for us, like, the cloud encoding part is important. It's like a crucial thing because it makes it really simple. But we also see, like, maybe you just want to have comments in your TriCaster feed, right? Maybe you want to have you want to be able to use Facebook polls in your TriCaster feed. That's where we're seeing a lot of growth on our side, is in being a link in the chain instead of having to be the whole chain. And I don't think we do a good job of communicating that in our marketing right now. Our marketing is like cloud video production. That's all we do. But in reality, like, we can operate either as part of another encoding process or as the specific encoder. And I think both solutions, like, from our perspective, we're trying to make video production broadly easy across, no matter who you are, no matter if you're like super high end, if you're super low end. And so we want to be able to fit into those workflows regardless of whether it's like you want us to encode it or whether you want to encode it yourself.
And as we're moving forward, I do want to actually talk on that a little bit later on, as we talk about like what is it that's about that makes VidPresso maybe so unique, or some of that distinctions. I do want to get into that, but first, I know we've got the next question coming out, question number 3. You guys haven't already, you guys can tweet out your answers, your replies, or you can respond on Facebook and on Periscope. We will, in fact, see it. I see a number of you guys. I see Periscope. I'm trying to bring over my screen so I can. There, now I can see it. Now it's clear. I do see Terry Johnson. I see Darcy out there. Sabrina Cadini's joined us. Unfortunately, she says she can't join us for us too long because she has some meetings to go to. Paramonkey TV actually asked, and this is a great question, and I don't know if now is the time to answer it, but I did want to make sure I did actually bring it out. But it's how to bring the right audience to an interactive live broadcast. You know what? Actually, I know that we're going to answer that a little bit later on in the broadcast. I know for a fact that we're going to do that. So let's bring up question number 3. Question number 3 is actually it's a question we've talked about a number of different times, and I like to ask this question because I want to get your perspective on it as someone that's actually building a product to solve some of this question. But question number 3 is, how much production is too much? And by the same stretch, how much is too little?
So we have a lot of clients who do full video production. Like they'll spend $50,000 for one broadcast. So they'll like invest a lot of time, effort, and money into it. We have other customers who use us like just randomly every day, like just show up and go live. I think that the answer for me, like it's not a question of how much is too much or how much is too little. It's a question of what are you trying to accomplish, right? Like, are you trying to reach your audience, and then what gets in the way of your audience being reached? Like a lot of times in a show, if you have tons of dead air or tons of like technical problems or tons of just me sitting there doing nothing, that gets in the way of your audience paying attention to you in some specific ways. So like if you're a celebrity, nothing gets in the way of your audience paying attention to you because they want to reach you. They care about who you are. So you could just go live from your phone, and that's going to be like amazing for your audience, right? For people who are less stoked about what you're doing, so like people who are driving by and they're just checking out, like, oh, you're going live, whatever, you have a higher bar to clear to keep them entertained, right? Because I'm not intrinsically entertained by just like watching you. So like for me, like if I go live to my friends and family, they'll give me a little bit of a pass if I'm boring or uninteresting. But if I'm going live to, say, the audience of Impresso, the people who follow us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter or follow us wherever, they're not going to have the same like buffer for like boring, right? And a lot of times video production can help you make something less boring just by having a new idea that's introduced. In this case, like we have all this stuff at the bottom of the screen. So if you are looking at me and you're like bored by what I'm saying for a few seconds, you have another place to look, right? You have other information coming at you. And I think a lot of times video production, the great thing about video, the thing that's so special to me about video is that if you with a well done video, with a well produced video, there's a ton of information density. The information per second that you get in a well produced video is higher than you get of the written word, right? So like if you read a paragraph, you can't get emotion, you can't get visuals, you can only engage like the actual words that are on the page. And really great writers can get that information density really high because they can evoke emotions, they can evoke other things. But if you compare 30 seconds of a video to 30 seconds of a written word, it's possible for that video to be either have more information density, to have like more things you're telling, or less, right? And if you're doing less, then why even bother doing the video in the first place, right? I think that's to me, that's video production increases the information density of a video. And to me, like that's when you're thinking about like whether I need a ton or whether I need a little bit, it's really like think about who your audience is and think about how engaged they are with you. If they're like so engaged with you that they'll watch a video of you like painting, then like you don't need any video production. But if they're like a how-to video audience, or they like you, but they don't love you, maybe you need a little bit more video production. Does that make sense? I'm sorry.
No, that really
kind of rambly, but yeah.
No, I mean that really kind of encapsulates it because and I'm going to be honest, it's a setup question because I mean this is your product and we know that, but kind of kicking back and listening to how much is too much and how much is not enough. It is a little bit of a sliding scale, but I think the rule of thumb really is it's what's going to promote the content. If you do too much and it's so full of
distracting,
like you can't actually watch or listen to it, then that goes away. But if there's so little, or it's, I don't want to say so little, and sometimes it's not the amount of it, but maybe the production quality is actually so low
Yeah.
that you can't actually concentrate on the
If you're having stuttering video, if you're having
right.
blocky video, sometimes it's like it's so distracting that you actually get in the way of the content.
Yeah. And it's not that there's too much. It's actually, well, hey guys, I wish you would have maybe delayed about 5 minutes and just done a
Yeah.
quick little audio check.
Yeah.
It just helps. It's not even because I don't think the vast majority, at least most of the people that I've come in contact with, they're not being picky. They just want it to work so that they can actually enjoy your content. They're not just trying to simply
Exactly.
be critical. They
Well,
want you to
and
do
that's the whole thing. Like you want there to be as few barriers to watching the content as possible. That's why buffering sucks, because buffering is like a complete like slap in the face of the pace, right? It's just like, you know,
right.
if you can't get through a video, you can't, like, it's you have to be really committed to want to finish that video if you're going to sit through the buffering. So
Well, Randall, I had promised everybody that we would do some kind of a show them a little bit of the behind the scenes. And I wanted to know if is this a good time?
sure.
Could we do a little bit of a how to, or show them exactly what VidPresso is, and maybe, give everybody a chance just to look at it. So I'm actually gonna, this is actually a first, Randall. I'm actually gonna turn this all over to you.
Yeah, sweet. I'll give you a little demo. So you can see over there, that way, some direction. I've got, this is my screen here, and this is VidPresso, the interface. On the left, I have this like big window that shows me what's actually going out. And then across the bottom, I have my sources. So if people join the show, I can click between the sources. In this case, I have one source. I'm going to add a split screen source of myself. So just for illustration's sake, I can switch between me and my split screen. Um, so sorry, I have to cough really quick. Sorry about that. So the main way VidPresso is used is to stream videos to Facebook Live. So when you're setting up your stream, you can set the destination on Facebook Live. You can pick a specific page. You can also pick your graphics package that you go live with. We've already done that in advance, and we're streaming. I'm going to go over here and pick some of the different graphics we have. So we have like a lower third that pops up. The thing about VidPresso that's really unique is the graphics are totally customizable. So I'm using this graphics package that we call Hexed. It's a hexagon. The graphics can be totally customized to your brand and your look. If you look at our sizzle reel, you'll see like every single customer that we have that's like our kind of high-end customers, they all have different graphic looks. None of them look the same. None of them have the same boxes. None of them have the same anything. It's all completely custom, and that's one of the things that makes us really unique. So we pride ourselves on making the animations custom, on the graphics custom, to make it look really good. We also have this across the bottom. You'll see this little thing I have. We call it a rundown. So I can actually activate the rundown, and the image goes full, and then I can go to my next one, which is really cool. So our graphics, these are, again, they're totally customizable. They have a lot of different, we have like a timer here that I can bring in, and I can start a countdown. Our goal is to make it 2 clicks to do anything within VidPresso. So our goal, like from anywhere in the interface, it's 2 clicks to do anything else. So in our case, like if I want to go check out my comments that I have a few pre-baked comments. This is Justin, who's my co-founder. I'll bring his comment in. So he says custom graphics. For me, it's 2 clicks. I can go check out comments, and then I can activate it in 2 clicks. I also have this mode I'm going to show you called prompt view. It's kind of like a teleprompter, you might think, for your broadcast. So you can send messages like wrap up, and that goes like full. So you can imagine having this on an iPad. You can have this somewhere else, and so you can tell your talent like something like, hey, it's important, we have 5 minutes left. Now you know they have 5 minutes left. And then as I'm picking through comments, I can actually send a comment to prompt view. So I'm going to send this comment. I'm going to send this other comment from Justin into prompt view. And then as the user, I can see Justin Carter says, hi, this is an awesome show. And then if I want to, I can activate it. And then this is really cool because a talent can basically pre-see comments before they go live. And then as the director of the show, you can click it. The talent will say, oh, I see we have a comment from Justin. And then the director will activate it right away. So it's a really cool way of having the flow not get interrupted. So comments is a big part of what we have a comment queue, so you can add items to the queue. We also have support for polls. Polls is like a really big part of what we do. So I'm going to activate this poll. Polls can also go into prompt view. So if you want to, you can send the poll results to the prompt view. And then as this is on the air, I'm going to go over to my Facebook page where my stream is going. I'm going to say candy in the comments. I'm voting on this poll, and you can actually see the comments will update on the air as they're going. So like as you're gathering poll results, you can have they update. Let me do this really quick. Anyway, so you can see that they'll update on the air in real time. Prompt you already talked about guests. We're overhauling this today. The code I was writing today was for this tab to make it a lot less crappy. So I don't even want to show you this really because it's going to be overhauled. But we have the ability to bring in guests with just a link, so you can send someone a link. They can join your stream. So you can imagine having up to, I think we say typically 5 to 10 people in a stream max. There's some bandwidth requirements to kind of go fractionally. So if you're using 10 people, it's going to be a little bit intense for you. We also have the ability to bring in RTMP sources. So you can stream a video from Wirecast, from OBS, from LiveView, from Teradek, from like anywhere into VidPresso. And you can bring in multiple RTMP streams into VidPresso and mix and match them. So you could imagine having a live source from a Teradek that you also overlay graphics on or put Facebook polls on or whatever. That's one of the key features we have as well. And that's kind of like the big overview of the product. Does that make sense? You have any questions, Jonathan?
I'm loving
just like
what.
Check this out.
I'm loving all of the comments that everybody's putting in into Periscope and into Facebook. You know, a lot of people, they just, I'll be honestly, they just don't know. You know, they only, you know, they just don't know VidPresso is out there. I mean, sure, there are other solutions for it. You know, there are other providers that are doing, like we kind of talked about earlier. Maybe they're addressing one aspect of, oh, just being able to stream to Facebook, or you know, that they can do lower thirds, or this particular feature, you know, they'll put, maybe they'll what is it, lower thirds on the fly, I think is how one company does it, you know. And one of the things that I think that really struck me about VidPresso particularly is that you kind of put all of those together, and you put the encoding together with that package. So you're doing a lot of places, they do the encoding, you know, where you just video in and then they send it out, but it's adding the production side of it so that you don't need you know, you don't need a super high-end computer to be able to handle all of that. And I say that from experience because, I mean, one of the things that I do is live video production, and I know the type of hardware it's going to take to be able to do it. Some of it's really super specialized, but you have to know it. But before I forget, I want to make sure, hey, everybody, if you haven't already, if this is something that's interesting that you like, you know what, I want to try this out. They have a 2-week free version of this, and you can go over at vmug.pro/vidpresso free. Okay, I know it's a short link, and that's going to take you guys right over to it. This is not like, it's not an affiliate link or anything like this. This is not, none of that. This is just a straight click through. It takes you right over to their website. Sign up for it. Try it out. See how it works.
One of the things we have is like really good support. So if you have like questions or comments for us during your trial, you can ask us questions and we're happy to answer.
That's awesome. I know outside of actual features, customer service, I'm going to tell you from my perspective, that's probably one of the most important things, because there is nothing more frustrating than trying to figure something out. You ask a question and then you never hear back from customer service.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, like, it is a deal breaker. Like, I will just not use the software anymore. I won't use the service. I'm done. I know we've got some other questions. Question number 4 is already out on Twitter. And let's bring up question number 4 here when we have a chance. And I just want to make sure that I'm not missing any other questions. I love the conversation that's going on Periscope. You guys are doing great today. I love it. Please, if you don't mind, share it out. Give it some share love. It's free. It's free. All right, question number 4. Question number 4 is, what are the distinct advantages of using VidPresso? And I know we've kind of talked maybe around this, but I really just I want to just give you the chance, talk about it, even give a quick little, tell us what you guys want us to do with it. So
Yeah, I think that the biggest advantage is creating interactivity. So beyond making video production easier, beyond fixing up a lot of that stuff, it's a lot simpler to add comments and polls into your production. That's kind of like our two bread and butter features. So I kind of showed that a little bit earlier. It's 2 clicks from anywhere in the interface to add a comment in your stream. As a result, like, you can kind of guide the conversation a little bit better. You can show people the comments that you think they should be making. And by highlighting specific comments, you encourage further people to comment. So like it's like, we call it the Jumbotron effect. Like, when you see the kiss cam on the Jumbotron, you're immediately like trying to make it so that they highlight you. It's the same thing. So it drives interactivity of the stream. I think there's some metric benefits for Facebook where if you have a lot of comments, it might show up in more people's news feed, things like that. So driving comments and then polls are 2 great ways of really making it interactive, something that you could never do on TV. That's what I love. I love the idea of we can make video production that looks as good as TV, but then I love taking it one step further and doing things that aren't even possible on traditional television. The ability to take those comments and polls are a really great example. So I think those are sort of those are the 2 highlight features, and then making it a lot simpler. So one person who has no technical knowledge can use VidPresso without having to train up on anything. You can basically show up, log in with Facebook, and you're good to go. I think those are our biggest advantages, is just the simplicity of the software, and then again, the ability to make it interactive.
pardon me, there we go. I was just putting the short link out onto Facebook, because it's clickable there. You can't click the link in the Periscope, but it is the vmug.pro/vidpresso free. Actually, that'll take you right over, so you can sign up and check out. I think it's about 2 weeks. It's a 14-day trial.
Yeah.
Kind of getting right back into it. Somebody on Periscope, they were bringing up, it's like, oh, this is amazing. This is great. I could use this for fantasy football league. And I'm like,
yeah, love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine fantasy football sports center. That would be the funnest thing ever.
So. If somebody does that, tag me in it. I just want to see it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not, honestly, like, guys, I am not like a big sports, like, or fantasy football, but I'm going to tell you right now, that's interesting. It is. It's just interesting. I'd love to see it. So if anybody's watching it, make sure you tag me in it so I can actually come watch or share it to me or something. But I know we've got question number 5 kind of coming right on out. And we will have a chance, if we have missed a question or something like that, I'm going to do my best right at the end to try to make sure we talk about it, that we try to catch that. And if we don't, I will tweet it out, or I'll respond afterwards on Facebook or Twitter about it. So question number 5, because it is actually right on time. Question number 5, it's pretty straightforward. Why does live stream production matter so much to brands?
It's that thing I mentioned earlier. So we were talking earlier about how much video production matters. So people if you've created a brand and you have them showing up to your live stream, you've done the hardest part. The hardest part of the live stream is like collecting an audience, right? If you've got them to say, I'm willing to tune into this, I'm willing to watch this, the next thing is you got to make sure you're giving them enough information to stick around, right? You're giving them enough reason to keep watching. You're giving them enough, production value to stick around. So because it's really easy to, one click to do graphics or to do things like that. We had MTV is using VidPresso yesterday for Total Request Live. They just launched TRL back into the world, and they did a pre-show at VidPresso. And the cool thing about the pre-show is they're showing kind of people hanging out, milling about, getting ready for the show. But then the actual graphics that they were showing on screen were driving the whole show. So they would have polls up where they would drive the show. They'd have commenters where they would drive the comments. And while people are waiting and they're sort of excited about the TRL's coming, VidPresso and the video production elements can actually drive the live stream. So like, as instead of having a person explaining something on camera, the graphics do the job of explaining what's happening. The graphics are saying what's happening next, who's coming up next. So that live stream gets more interesting because the viewer at home gets to see the ambient milling around. They also know that stuff's happening and that stuff's coming up next. So they know like, oh, I've got to pay attention for that thing coming up next, you know? So I think that's, to me, that's the biggest piece, is like, you can help people stick around longer and get more information out of the production. And that's why it matters to brands so much.
I've always kind of wondered, when it comes to brands, why they don't adopt earlier, why they don't try something that's kind of cutting edge. And I think they overthink it, but at the same time I realize, because when you have a company, when you have a brand, if you move in, you want to dedicate the resources, and it can be time, it can be money, it could be other people's reputation, or it could be all those things. You want to make sure that before you go and spend a lot of resources, then it's actually a viable option. Like, it's
Yeah.
actually a real thing. And I think we've hit that. I think we've hit that point with live video, particularly. Yeah, this is a real thing. Like, this is, we hope that you can come and use this as a thing. But
Yeah.
I think one of the big problems with that brands suffer from is that they're unsure on the outset. And I'd love to hear and see some comments from people that either represent brands, run brands, or even do maybe consulting for brands. I'd love to hear your guys' comments in the chat. And I know I actually see a couple of lurkers. That's why I'm calling them out, to say, look, put it out there. Just let us know, even if you're kind of listening to this as like a podcast style. Yeah, jump over, throw a comment. I'd love to be able to hear what you guys say. All right. So, and I know we're approaching that question number 6, but we've gone through 5 other questions. We've done the live demo. We've really talked about what makes VidPresso unique, and I think in the field is that it is an encoder on that side. So it takes your video and it puts it in the format that whatever the social video, social platforms want in the video. It integrates a lot of the chat, the comment features, a lot of the polling features. You can bring in. How many guests did you say that you could bring in?
So we don't actually know, because we haven't pushed the limits. We've done internally calls that have 7 guests.
Okay.
And it gets a little bit like, there's processing power on the computer side. So like, if everyone doesn't have an amazing computer, you'll drop frames. So we say like 5. 5 is like what we would recommend, but we've done more. And
Okay.
I think it would max out around 10, but we wouldn't recommend it. We basically say like, stick to like 5.
That is kind of cool. I like that. That it's not just like 1 or 2 people. I mean, that's been probably one of the big barriers right now, is bringing on multiple guests and doing it easily and fluid.
Yeah, the hardest thing for us is keeping the quality up. We've experimented. So like, we have the technology to do 50 people in a room at once, but the quality just is so bad that it's like unusable. So for now, like, we have big plans in the future for like having like, some of our customers are really big, like NBC or Reuters or the NASDAQ or whatever. We have dreams and visions of allowing people to interact live in real time with their audience, and having the audience be able to join and like ask questions. But we struggle a lot with the quality, because for us, like, making sure the quality is perfect is the number one thing. So like, that limits the number of people who can be in a room. That's our biggest struggle.
Now I like that you say that, because oftentimes I've experienced it firsthand, is that when you bring in either multiple sources from video, or bringing in, and I know there's a question in Periscope asking, can you have a presentation image, or like a PowerPoint, or like a screen share feature? Is that included in what VidPresso does?
Yeah, definitely. If you want to go back to my demo, I can actually show you. So we have
cool.
a desktop capture feature that lets you capture an entire screen. So you can share either, I have 2 screens here. So I have like my vertical and then my horizontal one. I'll just share this, even though it's going to be like a Inception. So you can see my screen. So I can share my screen into my production, and then I can also do like as part of the side-by-side video or the picture-in-picture, I can use my screen share. Oops, I closed it. I can use the screen share as part of that. So even though this is like the weirdest thing possible, because I'm sharing my screen. But yeah, you can use that. We have dreams and hopes of you can also upload images. So if you want to upload a bunch of images, you can upload a bunch of images. If you're doing a PowerPoint, we have hopes and dreams of being able to embed PDFs that are basically PowerPoints in Vidpresso. So that's something you want. You can reach out to us and we'll talk about how to make that happen. But that's I think for us, like the focus still is on more guest features and less like webinar features. That's just like that's sort of we want to add things like B-roll, the ability to upload video clips, the ability to bring in video clips, things like that are our higher priority. But if you're super excited about PowerPoint and you want to use it, get in touch with us and we can talk about how to make that happen.
That's kind of cool. I like that. And, you know, it does harken back to the fact that when you do message out, and I know Jen, who is producing, I know she was reaching out to you guys yesterday. I believe it was yesterday. And even this morning, just asking questions of like, hey, well, what about this feature? Is this thing, how does this work? And
that's like, we try to drive our development through feedback. So like we have this guy, Leland Best, who does a lot of our community stuff, and he hits on our software pretty hard. Like he uses a lot of the features that we don't use on our own. So one of the things we're working on right now is this guest link feature, to make it so that all you need is a link to join the guest experience. Like that's a feature that came directly from him, right? And I think with all of our customers, we do customer driven development. So if you we have a lot of high end customers who had specific needs, we would build things for them and then release it for everyone. So that's kind of our MO, is using our audience and our customers to build features that everyone needs.
I think that's a really important part of it as you do product development. You know, being able to hear back and asking customers and users to be able to, hey, use a function, or hey, does this work, or what else would you guys like? And we really do like that. And Patty over on Periscope's asking, you know, he's like, oh, could you use could you show replays of games and analytics of football games? And of course, as full disclosure, we're not saying should we violate copyright and broadcast other, but that's not the question. It's can we rebroadcast things you know, through this analytics? I would imagine that's something that could be worked in, maybe creatively using the poll features. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I think so right now the screen share feature is how I would do most of that stuff. So if you can get it as a screen share on your computer, you can get it in Vidpresso. Later on, we're going to have some features that allow you to upload video clips, like I said before. As those features get done, it will be a better platform for that. I think right now we're the best platform for like conversations and for like ambient video and things like that. We're not the best platform yet. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I know from personal experience on my end that being able to go in and being able to edit lower thirds, or be able to add comments to a pop-up or a lower third, like being able to do that on the fly, honestly, that's absolutely crucial to be able to do that. So I could absolutely see some, you know, doing some kind of a broadcast and want to talk about something, or if you're doing like a fantasy football you know, draft, you can add those on the fly. You can change it on the fly. This is exactly. We're on this pick or this. There's a lot of, or even I'm gonna even say like this: if you have a sales offer and you say, look, I've only got 10 of these left, you can update your lower third on the fly, and it's not that hard. You can, I mean, you know, I'm looking at, and for those of you guys that don't know, like I'm looking at the behind the scenes screenshot right now, and I know that you can just literally click on and edit the lower third and type it as it's happening and activate it, and it comes up. It is literally that fast, and it is a click of the button and a couple of, which is a lot easier than a lot of other solutions. And I wanted to bring that up because that's one of the things that separates out. And that leads me into that last question. Question number 6, everybody. I didn't hear there. It's in Periscope, And question number 6 on is in Facebook right now too. And question number 6, just straight out, it's like, Randall, what is the future of cloud production and live streaming?
So I can only tell you the way I see the future going. I can't tell you how other people see the future
No, we
going.
want crystal balls. We want crystal. No.
So the way that I see things going, the things that we're focused on at Vidpresso is making it easier, just making everything easier. So right now it's a little bit of work to like even know that Vidpresso exists. And then if you know Vidpresso exists, it's a little bit of work to like get your camera in and to do whatever. So you have to spend some effort. Our goal is 0 effort live streaming. So using tools like ours or tools that exist out there, I think that as we have to be honest, like Facebook Live kind of kicked off this whole recent revolution in live streaming. A lot of people, us included, we had built products prior to Facebook Live, but Facebook Live really made it so that we had the scale and the reach to be able to get more people in. So that means that everything that we're doing is about 1.5 years old, right? Like Vidpresso Live as a product has only been around since like February of last year, right? So we're like 1.5 years in. I think like as we have more time and as we make sure that the bases are covered, a lot of the kind of more advanced features, the ability to do rundowns, the ability to bring in guests really easily, the ability to play back video, the ability to do other stuff really easily, they're going to be released, over the next little while. So over the next, I don't know, 18 months, I think everything's just going to get easier. And hopefully, I mean, for us, the quality has gotten a lot better. I'm hoping the same thing goes for other platforms. So I think the things you'll see, especially the milestone we look at most that we say is like the real future of live streaming is going to be 5G cell phones. And those are the first deployments are scheduled for 2022. More widespread deployment is going to be around the next decade. And as that happens, and as you have higher bandwidth on cell phones up to gigabit and higher, the ability to live stream from your phone changes dramatically. And so we see that as like the real future is where anyone who has a phone. So right now it's like if you have a desktop, you can do pretty good quality live streams. If you have a phone, there's some products out there like Switcher Studio and things like that exist. They'll let you do some stuff on a phone, but not, you're still not going to be having like a producer producing a show from a phone, right? We see as the bandwidth changes, as bandwidth increases, a lot of the ability to do higher quality stuff will change, and it'll be more accessible to all. So I think I think you'll see simplicity. I think you'll see more like broadcast quality features like B-roll, and then as that bandwidth changes, that's you'll see the ability to do it from anywhere. So
I really think that I really do think that a lot of those things are within sight of actually where we're standing right now, as it were, in the
exactly.
in this landscape. Mobile phones are becoming predominantly the way people are consuming content,
Yep.
in making production with the ability to be able to use those. I think that is. I mean, obviously, we don't know, and there are some limitations. I think actually most of the limitations, like we were talking maybe before the show about, the limitations are not so much the mobile device; it's the network it's broadcast on. It just can't handle the bandwidth. We just know that, But that's, I think I think
5G is going to eliminate a lot of that. So
it's
like
millimeter
wave,
we're going to see it.
exactly.
It's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, millimeter wave 5G, which is sort of the Qualcomms of the world are like most excited about. We're going to have gigabit to our cell phone in the next 10 years, probably the next 5 years. We'll start to see that. And that's like the whole world changes when your phone has better internet than your house. Like everything is different. So
I'm seeing that as in the next 6 to 8 months, I can definitely see a largely growing audience that will need exactly what it is that you guys are producing, that you guys are literally creating right now. This is not, I know you're not holding back. You're actually writing the code. You specifically, you're actually writing the code to make this stuff happen. And
yep.
I love that fact, that you guys are actually producing this technology right now. And I think within the coming few and short foreseeable months that I think as people get a hold of this and really understand and grasp the idea that, look, it's not just encoding, it's not just a platform, but it's the production side as well, that putting it
Yep.
all together is absolutely crucial. And I really hope a lot of people take advantage of that, in as is, in the coming weeks and months. So I wanted to make sure that everybody had a chance. If I saw, man, I love some of these comments, Randall, and I don't know if you're able to check out over on the Periscope, but I see a number of people they're saying, oh, they love these the polling feature, the interaction. Um, some of the people are saying, look, I can't wait. Like Genevieve is saying, look, I'm going to learn and utilize. I'm like, I love those kind of comments. So
Yeah.
um,
I saw someone called Frameable Faces. They had said the press looks cool, but brands may overanalyze how much production matters for live. We definitely see that. So we see brands who they want to spend a gajillion dollars on one single live, and the better way of approaching live is like, how can I do 100 lives for the same price, right? How can I go live every day instead of just like a big like one shot live? It's like, how can I create repeatability? How can I get my audience to get used to me going live instead of just having like a one shot, like let's do this live one time? So I totally agree with that.
yeah, that's Doug over on Favorable Faces, and he's a small business owner. He uses Periscope. He does a lot of first person. I think this type of a tool, if he had ever wanted to get into doing a little bit more of maybe like how-to tutorials, but he wanted to do them live, I could
Yeah.
absolutely see Vidpresso as being that kind of a tool that makes it happen for him. Because I mean, he's technically savvy enough. They've already had the established business and idea, and they're experts in their field. But
Great.
that's the kind of thing. So I really am looking forward to see how people react and how people are using it. Um, Jen, if you could bring up the vmug.pro link again, just so everybody has a chance to see it. And while we're doing that, Randall, I want to get your final thoughts on today. Pretty much anything is within grasp, man. You've got it. What are your final thoughts today?
I think the thing about Vidpresso is we've come really far, but we have a lot further to go. So I think like talking about this and even being on this show makes me think of a lot of features that I want to build for Vidpresso to make it really easy. I think you guys have a really slick show you've done here. Like you have things working, but it takes like a Herculean effort from Jen and from, you have a lot of pre-production you have to do that's like tied up in a lot of different places. It'd be cool if your form actually made the lower thirds for you. It'd be cool if you're like, if a lot of the work just happened for you. So I think like, to me, like we have made a lot of progress. It's a lot easier to do a lot of this stuff, but we still have a really long way to go. And I think that that's what this experience makes me reinvigorated to make things even easier for more people. I wish there was 10 Let's live stream shows a week instead of just one. I wish there was someone else who did a live stream show just like this. You guys are kind of unique in that you're doing this kind of, I don't see a lot of shows like this. So I think my goal is to make it so there could be like 100 of these shows, 1,000 of these shows, 1,000,000 of these shows, instead of just like the people who can, you guys have spent the effort, spent the time to be able to make the show. It'd be cool if other people could do that as well. So that's my parting shots.
I like that idea, because one of the things that I think that needs to happen going forward is that we're trying to bring the tools to people that have really great ideas, and instead of just letting like the tech stop them,
Yeah.
letting people like you develop the tech, and let them be
Enable
creative,
them.
let them be innovative, let them share their message. And I think that's
Exactly.
absolutely, that to me is one of the strong points that live stream does. It really puts video in the hands of a lot of people. So
Yeah.
I'm really anxious to be able to see. I did put I put the link out there a couple more times. I saw some people were just trying to look at and grab it, and be able to see it. So if it's not already, it is up on the screen right now. So with that, let's close out the show. I know that we've got other shows coming up, but Randall, before that, I want to say thank you again. Thank you so much for being on today's show. This was really impressive. I'm really impressed with what you guys are doing. So man, thank you so much
Cool.
for today.
Thank you so much. It's great to hear that. Thanks.
All right, as we go into the next week, we have some other shows. We do this again, guys. Remember, we do this like every week, Wednesday, 3 o'clock Eastern time. Next week, we're going to be talking about the cost of live streaming. And you know what? Yeah, that's clickbait title. I'm just going to be right out there. You don't even know what I'm going to talk about, but guess what? You're going to want to be there because next week we're going to lay out some ideas, some thoughts, and some talk about some real costs of what does it mean to live stream and the real costs of it. So guys, without any further delay, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share to our channels on Facebook, on Periscope, as well as YouTube. And the details of that are going to be coming out this week. Guys, thank you everybody that's been watching us today. It has been a blast. Thank you guys. I'll see you next week.